Welcome to Vale of Dark Whispers. If you crave horror laced with forbidden romance, like, subscribe, and stay with us in the dark. The following story contains graphic scenes of horror, supernatural violence, intense sensuality, and disturbing themes. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. This content is intended for mature audiences 18 and older. If you're sensitive to dark content, turn back now. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. Born to bleed. She was born to bear a god. She chose a monster. A horror romance forged in obsession, prophecy, and blood. The bar pulsed with warm, golden light and red velvet shadows like a heart beating in the dark. Olivia sat alone on a cracked leather stool, a drink in hand, legs crossed with elegance too sharp for this part of town. Her copper-red hair spilled like blood over her shoulders, catching fire every time the rotating bar lights passed overhead. She wore a fitted black dress, short enough to tempt, tight enough to taunt a man's willpower, with lace sleeves that coiled around her pale arms like smoke. Her boots clicked softly as she shifted, the heels digging into the old wooden floor. Her cheeks flushed the color of dusk, and wine red stained her lips, although she wasn't yet drunk. She didn't see him at first. No one ever does. Klaus stood in the shadows near the far end of the bar, untouched by the glow. He was too tall to blend in, too still. Muscles sculpted like something out of pagan myth, dark hair falling just over his eyes that burned gold and red like a dying star. He didn't drink. He just watched. And the longer he stared at Olivia, the more feral he became inside. She'll carry the most beautiful pup the bloodline has ever known, Klaus muttered to himself. She laughed at something the bartender said, her voice soft and a little sad. Klaus moved then, one step, his boots silent despite his size. He didn't smile when he approached her. He didn't need to. "Are you here alone?" he asked, his voice like thunder under velvet. She looked up, startled by the depth of his voice and then stunned by his face. The kind of beauty that doesn't belong in a place like this. Or in this world at all. For now, Olivia answered, a smirk twitching at the corner of her lips. He slid onto the bar stool beside her. "You drink like you're waiting for a ghost," Klaus said, voice low, smooth as honey laced with venom. Olivia smiled, lips red and parted. "Maybe I am." The moment was full of tension. Something about him unnerved her, but not enough to make her leave. That was the danger. She felt it in her stomach, in the way her pulse picked up. He was too perfect. Too still. They drank together. Talked. Her walls crumbled fast, and Klaus didn't even have to try. He was charming without effort, words like silk, eyes like hunger. She didn't know why her pulse beat faster around him. She just knew it felt good. Dangerous. Addictive. Outside, the night was frosty. Fog crawled in from the woods nearby, and the moon loomed like a lidless eye overhead. She led him through the park. The moon, swollen like a watchful eye, loomed overhead as bare branches clawed at the sky. Their steps echoed on the path. Then a sound behind them. Low. Wet. Breathing. And wrong. Klaus froze in place. His muscles coiled. Olivia turned, frowning. Out of the trees, something stepped into the light. Klaus shifted in front of her in an instant, faster than she could process. His body rippled like mussels under storm clouds. Klaus's voice dropped into a growl. "He's early." A demon, 7 feet tall, hunched, its skin black as coal and cracked like dried lava. Its mouth stretched to its ears, leaking a thick, dark substance. Horns curled like a crown. Its voice was a whisper and a scream at once. The demon emerged horned, slick with rot and stinking of sulfur and blood. Its red eyes locked on Olivia with lust and possession. "They have promised her to the Prince of Hell," the demon snarled. The vessel. The gate. Give her to me. You will bleed before you touch her, Klaus yelled. And then they clashed, Klaus and the demon. No words. Just bone, claws, blood, and flame. They fought like beasts. A blur of shadow and light, fangs and fury. Olivia screamed. But before she could run, something struck her, blinding white pain at the back of her skull, and the world fell away like shattered glass. The ground shook. Trees snapped. Claws tore flesh. The last thing she saw was Klaus, soaked in blood and gore, standing victorious. Then, darkness. She awoke in a room with no windows. A cabin with stone walls, wooden floors, the scent of pine and blood. Her head throbbed. And he was there. Klaus stood by the bed, shirtless, chest heaving. Muscles carved in shadow, blood still on his knuckles. His eyes burned gold in the dark. She tried to move. He saw that she was tied to the bed, her legs spread, and her hands bound behind her back, naked, and the door locked. All around the cabin, she noticed symbols burned into the wood but was unsure what they were. Klaus, noticing her confusion, said, "They are ancient wards to keep out the demon, devil, spirits, werewolves, vampires, everything that wanted to steal her." Klaus warned, "Don't run." She asked in a whisper, "Did we have sex?" Klaus answered with a smirk, "Not yet, darling, but soon you will give into your body's craving for me, and I will have you in all the pretty little ways there are, your pussy, your ass, and that tight little red mouth of yours. And you will beg for more." He starts to untie her, lingering his hands over her body, making her lean into his touch. "The bathroom is in there. Clean up and come down for breakfast," Klaus orders. Making her way to the bathroom, she wonders why her body is reacting to him like it does. She could not understand why she was aroused by him. Her pussy was wet for him. In the warm shower she started to touch her pussy to get a bit of relief from the heat between her legs. When a knock startled her, she answered, "Just a minute." Making her way through the hallway to the kitchen, following the smell of bacon and coffee. "How is your head feeling after the knockout?" Klaus asked. "I still have a headache," Olivia whispered, thinking to herself, "I am so tired I could sleep another 4 hours easily." Silence fills the room, and Klaus hands her a cup of coffee. She looks up at him through her eyelashes. "Thank you," Olivia said. She picks at the food on her plate and is overthinking. Olivia asked softly, "Why are they after me, and why am I here?" Klaus looks at her with deep consideration. "You are here with me because I chose you to be here. They are after you for your womb. They want you to birth the next heir to their throne." They finished their breakfast in silence. After breakfast, they cleaned up in silence. "I am going to the town for supplies. You need to stay here and look at the door. You are not to leave the cabin or open the door for anyone," Klaus said. She nods her head and turns around. Heading back down the hall, she notices a room with a fireplace and a bookshelf. She wanders in, intrigued by one book. She takes the book and sat down on the chair, closes to the fire and starts reading, discovering all the supernatural creatures, werewolves that can turn from human to wolf and vampires that drink blood from humans, and then she sees it. A drawing of a woman who looks just like her, telling how she can only bear one child for these supernatural creatures, and the child will be more powerful than any. This can only happen when the woman is 30 years old, in less than a week is her birthday is coming. Dozing off with the book in hand on the chair by the fireplace, waiting for Klaus. When Olivia woke again, it was near midnight. The room was dim, lit only by a flickering fire, its shadows dancing across stone walls like spirits caught mid-scream. Her heartbeat thudded in her ears. Across the room, he sat watching her. Shirtless again, boots gone. Black pants were low on his hips. Moonlight slid over his godlike chest, muscle ridges. His eyes glowed, golden red, hungry. They hadn't blinked in minutes. "I won't hurt you," Klaus said. His voice curled around her like heat from the hearth. Deep. Calm. But laced with something darker, something ancient. Something that didn't ask for permission. You already have, Olivia says, her voice raspy. His tone dropped lower. What waits outside would tear you apart. Feed your soul to the underworld. Breed you like livestock. I'm the only thing keeping you breathing. She flinched. But even now, part of her wanted to believe him. Her skin burned where his eyes traced. His presence was more than physical, it crawled under her ribs and settled between her thighs. Her body ached in a way that terrified her. Her thoughts got the better of her, thinking of what this man could do to her. You tied me up, Olivia whispered. He rose, slow and silently, massive. Are you scared of me, Olivia? Klaus asked, now at the foot of the bed. I should be, Olivia whispers. But you're not. Klaus asks with a smirk. He leaned forward, placing one hand beside her head. Klaus's breath warmed her cheek. He brushed a strand of red hair from her face, fingers calloused and deliberate. Her nipples peeking against her shirt, wetness soaking her panties, she rubs her legs together to just have some friction where she needs it the most. I can smell your need and lust for me, Klaus murmured. Your womb sings at me like it already belongs to me. Her breath hitched in her throat. Her thighs tensed. Nevertheless, she stared back, defiant and trembling. I don't want this, she mumbled. But her body betrayed her. She arched slightly as he pressed closer, not touching, yet. Just his heat, just his scent. Earth, blood, leather, and something wild. You don't understand what you are, Klaus growled. From birth, you possessed the gift. You can bear the blood of gods, devils, and beasts. And every cursed thing wants inside you. Except me, he leaned down, his lips brushing her ear. I want you to choose me. Klaus breathed against her neck. She pulls him to her. Crushing her lips to his, he lets out an unhuman growl and whispers to her, I am going to make you beg for it, trailing with a kiss up to her wrist, tying her up to the bed, and he trails to the other arm and down to her legs and does the same. Moving slowly, he plants kisses all over her stomach and whispers into it, while sliding his hand down to her pussy, you're already so wet for me, such a good girl. Moving down and settling between her legs, he gives her pussy a lick moaning against her clit, I'm going to taste honey straight from the source. He eats her pussy like a starving man. She moans and screams his name, he orders her, come for me, darling, come for me, continuing to suck her clit, pressing in 2-finger into her opening. Hitting just the right spot, she screams and she comes, lips crashing against hers with primal heat. Then, he slides his enormous cock into her pussy. So tight, little darling, he moans, a moan slips her lips. Please, Klaus, I need you, she begged. He pumps harder into her and picks up the rhythm. Come for me like the good girl you are, he growls against her ear, and she orgasms, and Klaus follows, getting lost in his pleasure. When they came down from their high, Klaus untied her and pulled her onto his chest, and he rubbed her hair in soft strokes. Why did you stop? She whispers. Just waiting for you to catch your breath, my darling, he says with a smirk. He looks down at her, and she pulls him in for another kiss. Klaus growls, do not start something you can't handle. She just smiled up at him with puppy dog eyes. He kissed her fiercely, and she opened for him, and he devoured her mouth. He pulls her onto him, she moans into his mouth, fuck me like the little whore you are. She peppers him with a kiss down to his cock and gives the tip a lick, and he growls, no little demon, fuck my dick. She climbs back up to and starts to slide down slowly onto him and starts moving up and down slowly. She pumps up and down in slow strokes, but she needs more. She begs him to take over. In one move, he turns her around and settles between her legs, fucking her so roughly as she scratches and bites him in pleasure in each thrust. Each groan from her lips was worship. She cried out. His teeth grazed her throat. She begged him to bite her, but he didn't bite. He just fucked her until her eyes roll back and she orgasms again and pulses around his cock. He comes down from his orgasm, and he cradles her like a sacred thing. She fell asleep in his arms, sweat-soaked and satisfied, his breath warm on her shoulder. But outside, something screamed in anger as the womb received the seed. Olivia woke, gasping, her fingers clenched in the sheets, her body still sore from the night before, a night that rewrote every rule of desire and fear. Her thighs still ached from the way Klaus had held her. Branded. Her skin absorbed his wild, masculine, dark scent. But the bed beside her was cold. Klaus was gone. A sharp coldness pressed through her bones, not from the absence of his heat, but from something worse. She was alone. No noise, no movement outside the cabin, all gone. This can't be a dream. Then she heard a howl in the distance, and she scrambled out of bed and ran down the hall to the living room, hoping it was Klaus returning for her, but all she heard was silence. She sat by the fire, continuing to read her book. Darkness came soon, and so did the spirits haunting her from outside the cabin, waiting for her. Their pale look with red eyes always gave her a bad feeling in her stomach. Then came the nausea. It hit her like a crashing tide. Olivia barely made it to the carved stone basin near the fireplace before she fell to her knees and vomited black bile speckled with red. Her fingers trembled as she braced herself on the edge. Her vision blurred. Then a whisper. Not her voice. Not human. He's growing, and they smell him. She crawled back to the mirror on the wall, dragging herself like a wounded thing. Her reflection stared back, pale skin, wild red hair tangled over her shoulders, blue eyes burning with something new. And there, just beneath her navel, a faint silver glow pulsed like a heartbeat beneath the skin. She wasn't just pregnant. She was changing. It started with a soft knock at the window. She froze. The air grew cold. The fireplace died without a sound. Outside, the forest was still, but the shadows twisted unnaturally, forming a figure with glowing crimson eyes. A vampire. He stepped through the ward like smoke, smirking as he bared his fangs. "So, this is where the king's pup grows," the vampire king said, his voice like velvet soaked in venom. Before Olivia could scream, claws slammed through the window, grabbing her by the throat and pulling her closer to the window. "I need a taste of you," the vampire king says. She blinks back tears as she tries to stop them from falling. When she opens her eyes again, there is a massive black wolf, fur soaked in shadow, tackled the vampire to the ground. They are tossing each other in the air, hitting and biting until the wolf tears his throat out in one brutal motion. Klaus took her in his arms and carried her down the hall to the bathroom, placed her down gently on the counter by the sink, and opened the shower. He undressed her slowly and placed pepper kisses all over her bruises around her neck. Gently picking her up, he climbs with her into the shower and starts to wash her softly. He climbs out of the shower and lies down on the bed, placing a kiss on her forehead. Oliva whispers, "Please stay with me." Klaus climbed in beside her and placed her on his hard chest, rubbing circles on her back. Klaus orders, "Sleep now, darling, you and the pup need it." When she woke the next morning with her body against Klaus's, she felt happy for the first time in 5 years. She placed her hand on his bare chest and rubbed it softly. Klaus said, "I'm going into town and do not leave the cabin." As soon as he left, she felt the walls closing in on her, and she saw only darkness and shadows all around her. She screamed, but there was no one to help. The demon returned and kidnapped her from Klaus. The demon knocked her out. When she woke up, her head and eyes were heavy. Look around, stone. Chains. Firelight. She was in a throne room carved from obsidian, the walls alive with writhing shadows. Above her sat the devil on a throne made of bones and molten iron. To her horror, she saw that Klaus was chained beside her, bloodied and broken. His eyes were still gold. Still defiant. But Klaus's voice was weak when he turned toward her. "They want the child," Klaus whispered. "But he's not theirs. He's ours." Lucifer laughed, rising from his throne. "Oh, he'll be born on fire, and raised in hell." She lay on silk soaked in ash. The devil's lair wasn't fiery, it was cold. A palace of obsidian and bone, and in its center, a room carved from the ribcage of a fallen god. Chains hung like ivy from above, each one twitching with memory. The chains had bruised Olivia's wrists. Not anymore. He didn't need to tie her down now. She was too heavy to run and too slow to move. Her red hair draped over bare shoulders, she wore nothing but a thin, tattered gown, once white, now stained rust. It clung to her hips, soaked from the strange black water he forced her to drink every night. It made her vision worse. She saw Klaus. Just breathing. Screaming. Sometimes, torn in half. The devil circled her like a lover. Skin like polished obsidian, eyes like collapsed stars. He never touched her, only whispered. Always too close. "You carry a godling in your womb, Olivia," Lucifer breathed, his mouth beside her ear. "He will end kingdoms. He will be the king of all." She wanted to die. But the baby inside her, Klaus's son, burned like the sun. And the more the devil spoke, the more Olivia began to feel the boy listening. That night, the walls howled. Chains clanged on their own. Screams of the dead echoed through the ribs of the throne room. Olivia's stomach convulsed. Lucifer stood watching from the shadows. He did not help. He simply opened his arms and smiled. "Bring forth my weapon," Olivia screamed in fear. "Fire swallows the earth. Vampires feeding on angels." Her face was in a crown of thorns. Blood soaked the silks. Her clawing shredded her gown. Her blue eyes rolled white as the pain became otherworldly. Something growled inside her. A baby shouldn't growl. Her thighs trembled. Her nails cracked from gripping the floor. The metallic taste of blood, caused by her teeth splitting her lip, reminded her of Klaus. His mouth on hers. How he pinned her body down. His voice in her ear. "He'll be born strong. Everything will change because of him. He's yours, Olivia. Ours." Klaus had whispered in her ears. With one final, shattering scream and a push to rip her open, the pup was born. But he wasn't crying. He was staring. A child with golden red eyes, like molten amber, a look that will kill. Blood soaked his tiny chest, but it wasn't his own. He cooed once. And the chains on the walls snapped. Lucifer stepped forward, smiling widely. "My son," Olivia yelled, "he is not your son." But the child's eyes did not follow the devil. They turned slowly, toward Olivia. And he cried. Lucifer handed him back to her. She opened her breast, and he started feeding. "My little Michael." That's what she whispered to him the moment she held his slick, blood-streaked body in her arms, just before the guards wrenched him from her and placed him in the obsidian crib, laced with infernal runes. "Michael," Olivia yells. The name burned the demon's ears. Lucifer sneered. "No. His name is Hades, heir to the underworld throne. His name is Michael, and he is not yours," Olivia yelled in anger. Lucifer didn't argue. He didn't need to. The baby was already growing. By the second week, he sat up. By the third, he spoke. Small words. Then full sentences. He never cried. His aging process was faster than that of a normal werewolf or human. He is watching. He knew Olivia's voice. Her face. Her fear. And yet when she touched him, he leaned into her hand like a child starved for warmth. But there was something wrong. Something monstrous. At just 1 month old, he looked nearly 6 years old in human age. Small, lean, with glowing amber eyes and faint black veins across his arms. At just 5 years old, Lucifer taught him how to hunt and kill around the underworld like a fun little game they played. At the age of 7, Michael knew exactly where to hide in the underworld to attack his victims, and at the age of 13, he made his first kill, just as Lucifer had taught him. On his 17th birthday, he changed into his wolf form for the first time, and the hunger to kill and protect at the same time was welling in his wolf form. He has a wolf just like his dad, black as the night with amber eyes, and on his tail, he had a white tip. He growled and lay his head on his mother's lap. Michael came to visit his mother in her room, where you can see that over the underworld is a living nightmare forged from rot, flame, and sorrow. The sky doesn't exist, only a churning ceiling of smoke and black fire that rains ash like snow. Towers of bone rise crookedly from rivers of molten blood. The ground pulses like raw flesh, veins glowing faintly beneath translucent black soil. Every step feels like walking on something alive and angry, screams echo constantly, carried by sulfur winds that howl through iron-barred cages where damned souls writhe and claw. Ancient demonic runes bleeding black ichor cover the walls of the realm, which are made of twisted sinew and charred stone. Shadows move where nothing should live. Tall, hunched creatures with too many teeth and glowing red eyes crawl along ceilings or skitter just out of sight. Thrones of obsidian and bone sit atop massive ziggurats, where the demon lords watch everything. The major fortress is carved into a bleeding mountain that shifts as if breathing. Chains stretch across the sky, suspending bodies used as bells, screaming every time the wind strikes them. Michael asked her, "Mother, if I killed him, would you love me?" "What?" she whispered, trembling. "The Black One. The man who smells like ash. Would you still love me?" Olivia answered in a whisper, "I will love you even more." That night, Lucifer's guards stormed the hall in a panic. A guard and a hellhound were dead. Their throat was shredded with teeth marks. Michael's mouth was stained crimson. "He hurt her, my mother," Michael said simply. "So, I removed him. No one hurts her." Olivia fell to her knees. She always knew he wasn't just a boy. He was a weapon of destruction. She found the mirror again. Not a normal one. A hell glass, it bled instead of cracking. When broken, it shows your greatest fear and weakness. And in its shifting, liquid depths, she saw it, Klaus, chained in the pit of the ninth circle, wrapped in silver chains, torn open at the chest, his head hanging in pain. She shouts his name, and he lifts his head in a howl, eyes still glowing. Klaus says, "Olivia, he's yours. He's mine. He's not theirs." Hot tears spilled down her face. She pressed her palm to the glass. Making a promise in a whisper, "I'm coming for you." At night, Michael climbed into her bed. Not for comfort. He came to make a promise to her. Michael said, "I will kill him, Mom, but will you help me kill him?" "Who?" Olivia asked, though she already knew. "Lucifer," Michael answered. His voice was flat. Cold. And when she nodded, heart pounding, belly twisted, Michael placed his hand on her chest and whispered, "Then I will keep you safe forever, Mother." And just like that, Olivia realized, she had just made a pact with a creature more terrifying than the devil. Her son. One night, while everyone was busy with their task of crowning the new underworld prince while the sky in the underworld bled constantly. A blackened red, like scabbed over wounds, pulsed above the obsidian palace. The walls breathed. The halls screamed, the shadows moved. Olivia had stopped covering her ears years ago. It didn't help. Nothing helped. But tonight was different. Michael stood by the window of their stone chamber, gazing out over the endless lava plains. "He sleeps tonight," Michael whispered. "He dreams of eating heaven. He won't wake." Again, he turned back to her, his eyes a glowing gold red, more wolf than man. We run now, mother. Michael orders. Olivia's body ached. She still could not move perfectly as the devil fucked her every night before he went to bed and chained her up while he did so that she couldn't deny him what he wanted. She moved with a limp, and her wrists bore the scars of demonic chains. Her flame-colored hair was tangled but still vivid, her blue eyes were dimmed but not broken. They sprinted through corridors lined with bone sconces and tortured spirits that whispered as they passed, "Let us ride your skin, take me to the surface." Michael bared his growing teeth and snarled. One swipe of his claw silenced them. Forever. The gate they needed was guarded by the pallid wives, 3 soulless demon women stitched into a single body with 3 heads. They moved like smoke, with blades for fingers and mouths that hissed prophecy. She cannot leave. She is the mother. She is the key. Michael stood in front of Olivia and let out a howl so deep it cracked the walls. Then he changed. His spine split. His legs cracked backward. Fur erupted. Claws, fangs, eyes like glowing blood. The pallid wives shrieked, but they couldn't escape. Not from him. Not from the true heir of the Alpha King. He tore them apart. Oliva stood back, her face frozen with shock at how big her son's wolf is. He is twice the size of his father's wolf. He is magnificent. The gate was open. They crossed the Ash River, where every drop was made of burned human souls, and their scream still lingers. The water tried to crawl up Olivia's legs, pulling her down. To beg her to stay, she screamed in pain. Michael stopped and picked her up to carry her on his back. "Close your eyes, mother," Michael ordered. She did. Behind them, howls began. Hellhounds. Demons. Something bigger. Lucifer had awakened. "They're coming," Oliva whispered against her son's back. Michael growled. "Let them all come." They emerged in a burned-out church somewhere deep in the mountains. It was snowing. Olivia fell to her knees in the frozen ash and wept. Michael stood in the doorway, shirtless, his body lean and powerful now, his breath misting in the cold. "We are free," Michael said. But even as he said it, the air turned colder, a shadow passed over the trees, and a shadow appeared from the trees with glowing eyes. Something or someone has followed. Something dark, cold, and ancient. Olivia looked up at him, blood drying in the corner of her mouth. "We're never free," Olivia yelled. Michael reached down, helped her up, and whispered in her ear, "Then we make them all pay for what they did." Eyes glowing yellow with anger. "They all will pay for killing my dad and taking away your freedom." He growled. They walked through the night looking for shelter, constantly feeling eyes on them, shadows moving with them, the smell of death thick in the air. Finally reaching a banded cabin in the woods, they open the door, and the fireplace lights itself, and whispers come from the hallway, "They have returned to us, our Alpha King and his mother." Moving figures emerge from the hallway, getting closer to Michael, and he takes a step back, not in fear, but they don't smell like death or sulfur, they smell like something not dead but not alive either. The figures stretched a hand out to touch Olivia. Michael growled in anger. "Do not touch her." Olivia, seeing who the figure is, realizes it is the same spirit that looked after her all those years ago. Olivia said, "Calm down, Michael, she is a friend of your father's. She will help us." Taking a deep breath, she continued, "This was your father's cabin. He was so excited to meet you, he knew you would be powerful, even more than him." Michael smiled down at her, pulling her close to him. The spirit whispered, "Come, let us get you settled for the night. The war is just starting." Snow fell in thick, dead flakes outside the cabin. Olivia's breath hitched in her chest, steam rising in the cold. Her clothes were torn and covered in blood. Crimson runes stitched along the hem still pulsed faintly, like veins refusing to die. She tore them off and got dressed in new, clean clothes. Michael stood at the foot of the bed. His back was to her, broad now, muscular, scarred with symbols that hadn't been there before. They'd carved them into him in the pit. His shoulders twitched when he breathed, golden eyes half-lidded as he listened. "They're close," Michael said. She didn't ask how he knew. She could feel it too. Something was moving in the woods. Something was coming for them, not just one, but an entire army was coming. "It's time to call the werewolves," the spirit whispered in his ear. Michael walked outside of the cabin and howled a call for all werewolves to prepare for battle. 2 weeks later, the wind howled unnaturally, and the air grew thick with perfume, sweet, decayed roses. Then came Lucielle, the vampire princess. She wore black leather pants and a black crop top with a long black leather coat, high-heeled black boots, hair as white as snow, eyes as red as a ruby, and her mouth wet with blood. Her voice sang as she stepped from the trees, "My darling pup, the devil grieves for you." Michael bared his fangs and let out a growl. His eyes glowing bright. Lucielle didn't come alone. She brought with her a demon knight, his armor molten, his face wrapped in living chains that pulled tighter every time he moved. They weren't there to talk. Lucielle moved first, just a blur of shadow and ash appearing behind Olivia, grabbing her by the throat, her fangs almost sinking into it. Olivia let out a gasp in surprise. Michael turned. He shifted mid-leap, bone-crunching horror as his limbs lengthened and his face split into that of the beast. He collided with Lucille, stumbling them both down to the ground, clawing and biting at each other. Blood sprayed across the white snow. Screams filled the air as the war began. The demon knight swung a blade forged in the fire of hell's breath, but Olivia Dove grabbed a silver dagger that had been hidden on the altar for decades. She ran straight for the demon knight and drove it to his side. It hissed in pain. The demon shrieked in a dozen tongues. Olivia yelled in the demon's face, "You think I am just a womb, but I am his mother." She growled through gritted teeth. She pulled the dagger out and pushed it into his heart. Michael growled in anger, and he pinned Lucielle to the ground and aimed his teeth over her and took Lucielle's head clean off. He turned his head to look at his mother and saw the demon knight fall, smoking and turning to ash. That night, at the cabin covered in blood, tired, the fireplace was long dead, like they had ever entered the night before. They lit nothing. Darkness was safer. Michael heads to the bathroom to have a shower. All he needed now was a warm shower and a bed. Opening the water, he steps in and notices whispers coming from the woods calling his name. He finished up in the shower, shifted into his wolf form, and went out. Walking through the forest, the whispers become louder and louder, running toward the sound. He walks into a cave covered in moonlight. He stumbles into an ancient book with runes and markings in it, and a knife is inserted into the book. Whispers, only the blood of the true Alpha King can open the book to reveal the truth. Michael bit into his hand and dropped a few drops of red blood onto the book cover. Nothing happens, and he turns around to walk out and change back into his wolf when the cave starts glowing blue light, and whispers erupt from the cave. "We are free, rise true Alpha King." Michael has saved them from the devil's traps that once cursed. All the spirits in the cave were destroyed. They circle Michael and fly out of the cave into the woods, looking for revenge. Olivia lay on the bed. Her body aches. Her mind burned out, and she wondered where Michael had gone. She still heard whispering. Not from outside. From within. "You are the mother of war. You are the gate. The flame. The bleed." Suddenly, the mirror cracked. She jumped up, looking deep into the mirror, seeing a ghost stare back. Looking deeper into the mirror, seeing hell and the ghost chained up. "Klaus," Olivia yelled in fear and anger, "your soul is being burned. Tortured." But still watching deep into her soul, "Protect our son," Klaus whispered through the glass, voice shaking. "He is the end of all things. And the beginning." Then Klaus vanished. The trees grew gnarled here. Branches like claws. Roots like veins. And the road beneath Olivia's bare feet crunched not with gravel but with the broken bones of lost wanderers who never made it back. She held her coat tight around her. Michael walked beside her, his eyes darker now. Every night, he changed without meaning to. Every night, the curse upon him grew stronger. A hunger for blood, for death. But worst of all, a voice had started whispering to him, calling him fatherless. Useless. A tool of the underworld. They needed help. Genuine help. And only one being could do what they needed, break the devil's hold. They found her hut buried in snow and shadow, no door, no windows. Just a crooked tree with a noose tied high in its branches and bones, hanging like chimes. A whisper came from within. You carry the devil's air and the wolf's wrath. You reek of womb blood and betrayal. Come in. They didn't walk in. The hut pulled them through the wall. Inside, it was all wet wood, wax figures, and red candles that bled when they burned. A woman with no eyes sat in the corner, knitting something with hair. She smiled. No teeth, just a tongue that forked. They call me Halama said. But you may call me Mother. Michael refused to kneel, he was the Alpha King after all. Olivia did. I need to save him, Olivia pleaded, save my son. Sever the tie. Let him be free. Halama sniffed her skin. You were born to breed monsters, Red One. Born to open gates with your womb. You think you've only birthed once, but the underworld keeps echoes of what could have been. Twins you never carried. Futures, you bled out. Halama says, and Olivia sobbed. Michael shook his head, his claws splitting the floor. Halama reached into her chest and pulled out a book bound in wolf skin and human lips. Halama whispered, to sever the pact, your child must die. Or you must. Olivia stood in anger. Then write the spell for me to take his place. The witch began the ritual by cutting into Olivia's hand. Michael held Olivia's hand. Tears streamed from his eyes as her blood was dripping into the bowl carved from Klaus's rib with herbs and oils. The witch had pulled it from a hellmouth with her own hands. The air turned colder than snow. Then hot as hell itself. Screams filled the hut, not from her, not from Michael, but from the child inside her. Visions tore through her skull, images of Michael at war with demons, cities burning, heaven cracking, and then, peace, silence. The link was broken. But the price wasn't paid yet. Halama grinned. You offered yourself. The devil accepts. The floor beneath Olivia split. A clawed hand dragged her screaming into the dark. Michael lunged to grab his mother, just too late. She was gone. Beneath the underworld, where even demons refuse to tread, there is a pit. A place not of fire, but silence. Of needles and twisted vines that grow from bone, feeding on screams. A pit where the devil buries beings too dangerous to kill, too powerful to enslave. Klaus lay there, dead and still. Barely moving, just soft grunts escaping his lips. Not dead. But stripped of name, of fur, of rage. Naked and nailed to a crucifix of barbed black thorns, each one grown from his regrets. His mind had been splintered. Each memory of Olivia replayed on repeat, her laughter, her skin, the tremble of her body beneath his touch, his breath on her neck, the cute sound she moaned the night she said yes, then her screams when the devil took her. The image of his son pulled him into prophecy. The more he remembered, the deeper the thorns dug, until one night. He howled. In anger. It wasn't a sound meant for ears. It was a curse. A summons. A rage older than the moon goddess herself. And something answered it. The walls of the pit cracked. Shadow, with dozens of eyes, crawled through the thorns. A being called the Watcher of Failures, who feasts on broken legends. It approached Klaus's ruined body. You've bled for nothing. Your pup will die. Your mate is his now. He laughed. Klaus didn't reply, just stared at him with hollow eyes. He bit off his tongue, spat it into the watcher's face, and looked down to see his tongue dropping on the floor. And smiled with blood-stained teeth. Then I'll tear my way back to her. With claws. With teeth. With fury. The watcher yielded in anger. The thorns exploded outward. Klaus's transformation was no longer just to a wolf. He was now something worse, a hybrid of rage, fatherhood, and vengeance. He ripped through the pit. He was reborn to protect his family and the world. Michael lay in a forest of dead trees. No birds. No bugs. Just the wind whispering things only he could hear. You are not whole, boy. Your mother burns below. Your father claws through the veil for you. His blood was changing. His visions were stronger. The nightmares now walked beside him, wearing his face, whispering about what he would become. He was no longer fully human. Not fully wolf and not human. And not fully free. Lying in bed, Michael stared out the window, a pair of bright, golden, glowing eyes staring back at him. Your Alpha King is under our surveillance, the vampire hissed. We all are, the sorceress says. We want to claim him as our king. He knew all supernatural creatures, even his kind, were hunting him, but he was done running. I'm ready for war, Michael whispered into the cold air. Let them come. The veil between all the realms tore like old flesh. Klaus was reborn, monstrous. He stepped out of hell and into the world of the living. But he was not the same as before, eviler twisted around him. Gone was the man of smooth charm and godlike beauty. Now, his skin shimmered like obsidian, cracked with glowing scars. His eyes, once golden, now burned with moon madness. Every muscle beneath his skin twitched with wrath, pulsing with the curse of a father who had bled too long. Revenge is the only color he sees. Nothing else matters. He needs to protect his only son. He walked into the bar where he first saw her. She was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. No, she is rotting in hell. She gave her life for his son. It was abandoned. The dust still clung to the booth where she once smiled at him, red hair spilling like fire down her back. His fingers moved over the booths, and his mind went wild with the loss. A low growl escaped him. A promise. Not for her, but for himself. I'm coming, Olivia. I'll set the world on fire to find you. Klaus yells. No one chained Olivia. That would have been too kind. They stitched Olivia into the walls of the underworld's birthing crypt, weaving her limbs into roots that bled nightmares. She screamed in pain, but no one was listening to her. They were all demons, and they lived on torturing the spirits that were cursed to hell. The walls whispered to her in languages no living thing should know. You are the mother of ruin. You will birth the king who devours hope. You will feed our world your soul. The demon, Beelzebub, stood above her. Beautiful in the way it glistens in the heat of hell. Wings made of caged screams. He touched her stomach. Your body is mine. But your mind, he whispered in her ear, that one still resists me. How sweet. But not for long. But every night, the walls pressed tighter. The air burned colder than the normal hellfire. Shivers running down her body, Olivia closed her eyes and whispered, I just need to see him once more. She saw Michael's eyes through the veil. She whispered his name like a prayer. Come back to me, and far above, in the broken world, the earth trembled. The sky above the mortal world was bleeding black. Storms rolled like beasts in chains, snarling thunder, spitting lightning shaped like claws. Michael stood in the dead center of a forest where no light touched, just whispers. In his dreams, he could still hear his mother screaming. His claws were only half-formed. His transformation was incomplete. But something had awakened. Something old. A circle of figures appeared around him, ghouls, half-wolves, vampires with molten eyes. All creatures who had once served Lucifer. Now confused by silence from hell. "Where is our king?" one hissed. Michael stepped forward, claws out, bare-chested, blood smeared down his chest like war paint. "Dead." Michael growled, "I'm his undoing." He lunged at him. Dozens of them. Teeth, wings, talons. Michael's bones cracked mid-battle. His spine warped. His howl erupted, shattering eardrums and branches alike. His eyes turned fully golden. He didn't kill them cleanly. He tore into them. Ripped their jaws from their skulls, took their hearts out of their chests. Blood is dripping from his mouth. His heart pounded like drums of war. And when it was over, the ground was slick with gore, and Michael stood in a forest of bodies, head thrown back, howling. In the depths of the underworld, Olivia began to rot. Her hair fell in clumps. Her eyes grew dull. The magic that had once protected her from decay was fading, because Beelzebub had stopped feeding it. She didn't cry anymore. She remembered Klaus' final words, "They'll come for you, be strong for our son, my darling." And she had done it. But now, her body was splitting, barely holding on anymore. Then footsteps. A guard? A demon? No. A soul. "Michael," she whispered in fear. His spirit shimmered like firelight in pitch black. His clenched his jaw. "Mom, I'm coming for you even if I need to burn hell and earth to find you," Michael whispers in her ear. "Be strong." She screamed as something tore through her insides. Blood ran from her nose, her eyes, and her mouth. It was a curse breaking. A gate is closing. A god being angered. And when she finally collapsed from the wall as the stitches came loose, she curled up in a ball, with pain and sadness, red tears streaming down her face. Michael leaned close, whispering into her soul. "I'm coming." Then he vanished. And Olivia passed out, but not in fear. In peace and exhaustion. Michael walked barefoot across scorched earth, ash rising with each step. He was no longer a boy. No longer just a wolf. He was a hybrid of pain and purpose, muscle and memory. Behind him, his wolf pack followed. All in wolf form, ready for war. Entering hell teeth-bearing, the devil's army came in legions, winged beasts with hollow eyes, vampires bloated with centuries of stolen blood. Demons with faces stitched shut so they wouldn't scream from their agony. And at their center, Beelzebub reborn. He had taken a new form. A skinwalker, made from the stitched flesh of 100 fallen kings. His voice sounded like every nightmare Olivia had ever had. Michael stepped forward. Clawed. Bare-chested. A spiral mark burned across his ribs, the mark of both wolf and wrath. "I was not born to be yours," Michael yelled in anger. And then he shifted. Not just into a wolf, but into something new. His fur was black as the night, his eyes a storm. Around him, the air howled. Every ghost, every soul his mother had ever seen, they stood behind him. Klaus stood among them. Glowing. Silent. Proud. And then, Michael and his pack attacked. It wasn't a fight. It was a reckoning. Fangs met flesh. Wings were shredding and ripping through every demon in their way. Until there were none and just the smell of sulfur and burning bodies. The devil bled silver ichor that burned the soil. Michael bit through Beelzebub's ribs, tore into his chest, and pulled out the remains of his cursed heart. And crushed it in his palm. Michael searched for his mother. She was weak, her once vibrant red hair now streaked with silver. She'd seen too much. Bled too much. But her eyes still burned like frostbitten skies, blue and fierce. Silence. Then a wind. The underworld cracked. Split. caved in. The war was over. 1 year later. They lived in the mountains now. A hidden place from humans. Cold, but peaceful. Michael patrolled the edges of their land. Stronger now. Almost. At peace, inside, Olivia rocked a second child in her arms. A girl. She was not born of prophecy. Not hunted. She was just a child. Michael stepped into the doorway, framed by snow and starlight. "Are you okay, Mom?" he whispered. At peace, Olivia looked up, smiling softly. "For the first time in my life. I think I am," Olivia cooed. But somewhere, far beneath the ground, a sliver of Klaus's soul still wandered. Watching. Protecting. Because Olivia wasn't just born to bleed. She was born to survive. And Michael. He was born to end kings. If you felt the chill, if you want more, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell, so you never miss a heartbeat. Because the story has only just begun.